Today, we are going on a journey deep inside the human body to explore one of its most painful and, frankly, dramatic creations, the kidney stone. We're going to follow its path from a teeny tiny crystal into something that some people say is worse than childbirth.
I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? It's a comparison you hear all the time. But how can a tiny little mineral deposit possibly cause a level of pain that rivals one of the most intense human experiences? Well, to figure that out, we've got to look at how it all goes down. So, to really get a handle on this, we're going to shrink ourselves down, way down, and follow the life of a single stone. We'll see how it's born in silence and how it makes its famously agonizing exit.
Okay, so our story starts inside two of the hardest working organs you've got. Organs that, let's be honest, don't get nearly enough credit. We're talking about your kidneys. They are the unsung heroes here.
And when I say hardworking, I mean it. The sheer volume of work they do is just staggering. Get this, these two organs, each about the size of your fist, filter around 50 gallons of blood every single day. That's almost 200 liters. They're just constantly cleaning your entire system day in and day out. And filtering out the bad stuff is just their main gig. Your kidneys are also these master regulators. They're balancing your body fluids, helping control your blood pressure, and they even play a huge role in making red blood cells and keeping your bones strong. They are absolutely essential.
So you've got this amazing, super efficient filtering system humming along. But what happens when the delicate chemistry inside gets knocked off balance? Well, that's when things go wrong, and a stone can begin to form. Let's see how.
So, what is a kidney stone really? To put it simply, it's just a hard clump of minerals. It happens when your urine has too much waste in it and not enough liquid to keep it all dissolved.
The best way to picture this is to think about stirring salt into a glass of water. At first it just disappears. It dissolves. But if you keep adding more and more salt, you reach a point where the water just can't take any more, and boom, solid crystals start to appear out of nowhere. That exact same thing can happen inside your kidneys. Now, not all stones are created equal. There are a few different kinds, but there is one undisputed champion of the bunch. A whopping 80% of all kidney stones are made of something called calcium oxalate. And that's exactly why you'll often hear doctors talk about managing foods that are rich in oxalate, like spinach or nuts.
All right, now we're getting to the heart of it. Why? Why does something that can be smaller than a Tic Tac cause such legendary, unbelievable pain? Well, the answer is basically a plumbing problem. A very, very bad plumbing problem.
Just look at these numbers. The ureter, that's the tiny little tube that carries urine from your kidney down to your bladder. It's only about 3 to 4 millimeters wide. The second a stone that's bigger than 5 millimeters tries to squeeze through, you've got a major blockage. It is the definition of a square peg in a round hole, except the consequences are absolutely agonizing. And that blockage kicks off this just devastating chain reaction. So the stone gets stuck, urine can't get by, so it backs up. This creates this immense pressure inside the kidney, stretching it like a water balloon that's about to pop. And in response, the muscle walls of that little tube, the ureter, start to spasm like crazy, trying to force the stone out. That is what they call renal colic, and that is the source of that infamous wave-like pain.
And the pain rarely travels alone. The body's response to this internal crisis is just total chaos. It often brings on nausea, vomiting, and one of the real telltale signs, this extreme restlessness. People who have them say they just can't sit still. They can't find any position at all that brings even a tiny bit of relief.
So the pain is just off the charts, but thankfully, modern medicine has gotten really, really good at fighting back and dealing with these unwelcome guests.
Really, it all comes down to size. If a stone is small enough to pass, the game plan is usually just to manage the pain, drink a ton of water, and basically try to flush it out. But for the bigger ones, the ones that are well and truly stuck, that's when doctors bring in the big guns. Things like shockwave therapy to blast the stone into smaller pieces, or even going in with a tiny camera to grab it and pull it out directly. A comedian once said this, and it just captures the reality of the situation so perfectly. Pain is subjective, of course, but the memory of a kidney stone is so uniquely awful that literally no one on earth who has had one ever wants to go through it again. So, after hearing all of that, the most important question is pretty obvious. How in the world do you avoid this whole nightmare? Well, the great news is that when it comes to prevention, you actually have a ton of control. Here it is. This is the single most important thing you can do. The #1 preventative measure on the entire planet.
drinking 2 to 3 liters of water a day. It keeps your urine diluted, and it is that simple. More water means less concentration, and less concentration means those minerals stay dissolved and never even get the chance to clump together and form those crystals in the first place.
And beyond just drinking water, these other lifestyle choices can make a massive difference. You know, cutting back on salt and animal protein can lower the levels of those stone-forming minerals. And of course, if you're someone who's prone to those calcium oxalate stones, just being a little more mindful about those high oxalate foods is a really smart move.
And really, that's the big takeaway here. This isn't just about dodging pain. It's about understanding how your body works and making a few simple choices that have a huge impact. A couple of extra glasses of water, some small changes to your diet, these are the tools you have to make sure this tiny microscopic journey never becomes your big macroscopic nightmare.
Subscribe for more healthy tips. Your brain and body will thank you. Hit subscribe now.